I started from mathematics, and I started from like really pure mathematics, like from going from analysis to algebra. When I was in data science, most of the things I see are still quite theoretical. Like for example, you might be exposed to the math behind the algorithms, etc., etc., where I was trying to where I was trying to conquer and to find a graduate job. If you're like a junior, then if you're a junior, not much data experience, want to come to Hong Kong, find
So
a
for
data job.
today's episode, we have Mr. Derek Leung. He's one of the data analysts working in one of the reputed companies in Hong Kong. Basically, he's working in my company as a data analyst, and we both work together in our data projects. He has a mathematical background. He completed his bachelor's degree in mathematics 4 years back, 4 to 5 years back, and then he completed his master's in analytics in 2021. And since then, he has been working in the space of analytics and data science. He has a great knowledge on mathematics, statistics, and data science. So today we have Derek, and let's get started with this video where we will be talking with him and asking him his journey, how did he end up into a data analyst, and multiple other topics. I'm sure you are going to love it. In case you have any questions you want to ask to Derek which is not covered in this podcast, let me know in the comment section and we will be able to revert back. Apart from that, a small request: as I'm doing multiple things, multiple playlists are also upcoming in this channel. Wonderful playlists on predictive analytics, statistics, multiple things are in line right now. In case you have a specific requirement on any topic or any project, let me know in the comment section as well. And let's get started with the video. Hi Derek.
Hello, hello.
Can
It's
you
nice to be here.
yeah. Can you please talk about yourself?
Okay, sure. Just give a brief introduction to SAT's audiences. So I'm Derek, and I graduated in mathematics from Imperial College London, and after that I did a master's in basically what we call as business analytics in London Business School. And after that, since I wanted to move back to my hometown, I went back to Hong Kong and took an internship, then a career break, and then finally hopped onto my first full-time job here in Hong Kong as a data analyst. So this is a very high level and a chronological introduction of myself.
Great. Okay, so my second question will be, what's your background?
No, what's my background before I enter the data field? Is that
Exactly.
okay?
Yes.
Okay, so basically I started from mathematics, and I started from like really pure mathematics, like from going from analysis to algebra. Maybe some people have heard of like groups, rings, fields, and certain things like that. And in my second year of my undergraduate studies, data science just simply came along as part of some of the machine learning algorithms. And that was the point where I realized math can actually have a connection with business by data science. So that's how I jumped into the data space. And then I did a bit of ML algorithms for a year. However, I still failed to see the business connection, like simply through like statistical tests or some time series algorithms. So in order to like get exposed a bit more on the business side, I had my master's, and that's when I ultimately gained interest to hop into a more business side of data, which is the data analyst role. And my internship is already a bit about data analytics in a luxury firm. And then right now I'm working on sustainability projects and trying to use the power of data to to let's say to create impact for different companies to pursue their sustainability strategy.
That's great. That's great. I think you already talked about your mathematics background and from where you came across this data analytics domain. But my next question was also related to the same topic. How did you come across the data analytics domain? I think you already answered, but if you want to add something, you can.
Okay. So do you mean like the data analytics domain in particular?
Yeah, coming
Uh,
from a statistics, mathematics background, from where did you get an inspiration of joining as a data analyst, or from where did you hear about the data analytics domain?
Okay. So I guess in my case, it is more like how do I hop from data science to data analytics? So for when I was in data science, most of the things I see are still quite theoretical. Like for example, you might be exposed to the math behind the algorithms, etc., etc. But usually these kinds of machine learning algorithms do have their own stochastic nature, so that it's difficult when I saw like joint ventures within Imperial trying to use machine learning to attain business value around 5 to 6 years ago, I do see a major hindrance in there. So it made me really interested to look into how can data actually translate to insights. I think that translation matters much more than which fancy algorithm that we're using behind, because it's the translation that ultimately brings value. So that's how kind of like my mind shift and like to enter the data analytics domain.
Okay. Yeah, I think some of my next questions are probably going to be your first job, your next goals, and so on. And we have some interesting topics going forward. So, my next question is going to be, how did you find your first job?
How did I find my first job? I guess I can talk a bit about like how do I find my current job, I guess. So basically, getting a data job as a fresh graduate in Hong Kong, I won't say it's an easy task, because because the data space in Hong Kong is just starting to develop. So most of the companies are just trying to hire people with multiple years of experience just to know what data is about, instead of having the courage or willing to take the risk to hire someone is kind of less experienced. I think this phenomenon is prevalent in Hong Kong, but let's say it's also about the Asia Pacific in general. Like how so that was the so coupled with COVID, so that was the situation where I was trying to where I was trying to conquer and to find a graduate job. So I think our question is about like how right? I did take a career break in between, and I think that career break is really essential into like securing a job offer, because the data space is so new and so exciting, and and also different companies have their own data needs. So whenever depending on your own skill set, like maybe down to coding up to soft skills, there are different companies that require you to pick up different sets of skills than which are only specified in the job description, but their job title is always called data analyst or business analyst. So you have to really so what I did is to actually take these job ads out and take a look into what exactly has to be done, and then to evaluate whether I had the capability of doing this, or whether I'm interested in pursuing maybe a more business oriented or maybe a more technical oriented path. That's something that kind of prioritization, I think it's one of the most important factors during job hunting. If you're talking about maybe interview wise, then to be honest, the interview requirements always depend from company to company as well. As I've said, like different companies have their own data needs, so they're looking for people with different skill sets. And in the context of Hong Kong, it's difficult to contact the interview in prior to get a sense of how the interview is like. So the most you can do is usually just to look at the job description, and then try to think about, hey, probably the interviewer would be more interested in this aspect rather than that aspect, and then you try to prepare along those subfields and try your best. Uh, It does. Job interview is somehow like a learning algorithm. It's also stochastic. It's not like, hey, you did this piece of effort, then you'll get this job with that salary. But it's more like a, hey, you have to try again, try again, try again. So I guess it's a bit like gradient descent. You start from somewhere, and then somehow you wiggle towards your goal.
Okay, that's great. I think my next question was how difficult was it to find a job in Hong Kong? I think you already answered that. My next question will be related to similar question, but just in case if you have any ideas, if you don't have, that's completely fine. How difficult is it to find a job in Hong Kong from outside Hong Kong? That means from an expat point of view. Do you
Uh,
have any idea about this?
Actually, yes. I do have quite a few of expat friends that are also finding job in uh, in the data space. I would say that the difficulty would depend on your seniority. If you're like a junior, then if you're a junior, not much data experience, want to come to Hong Kong, find a data job, uh, I think there are two major difficulties. First of all, you might you might be underestimating the how how behind Asia Pacific companies
Yes.
usually are in the data space compared to more mature, more data mature cities. Like for example, like London, the whole US, actually the whole Europe, or maybe even or even maybe Singapore. Compared to those, a lot of Hong Kong companies are just starting right now. So this Hong Kong data space, I think it's a bit more suitable for people who has a bit more experience and can
Yeah.
provide guidance to different companies. So that being said, if you're a senior data analyst, scientist, whatever, and you have good experience, then I think align neighboring with the current visa scheme, I think I think as long as the company itself is willing to apply a visa for you, then your job prospects should be fine.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think a very good point. Probably I'll also add one point just in case people want to know more about how to switch jobs abroad. The basic thumb rule is that most of the companies, let's say I'll talk about most of my audience is in India, they would like to migrate to Hong Kong, Europe, or any other country. Now, let's talk about Hong Kong itself. So just try to understand that in Hong Kong, um, most of the companies will definitely look out for local candidates who are already within Hong Kong. And if they are not able to fill that role, they probably go ahead and look out for expats. So that's why for a less experienced person, I think getting an abroad job is a little bit difficult. Not impossible, but definitely difficult. But if you have experience, probably you can be lucky. So keep applying for jobs over LinkedIn and various other platforms. And I think Hong Kong market is also growing with respect to data. So you never know if you can land up a job in Hong Kong as well. My next question to you, Derek, will be something related to your skills and probably your future in the next 3 to 5 years. How much does a 3 to 5 years experienced, let's have 5 years, okay? How much does a 5 years experienced data analyst earns in Hong Kong? I mean, give me a range, like some range.
Okay. To answer this question a bit more accurately, again it depends on it depends on the data nature. Usually technical heavy data analysts would generally earn a bit more than business oriented data analysts, especially if we're talking on the like 5 year mark, where you're trying to become more senior, but you're not in like super director level yet. For 5 years. Also it depends if you're in a financial industry or not. If you're financial, just times. If you're in financial or blockchain, just times 1.5.
Yeah.
Around. Yep. I think for 3 to 5 years, usually technical heavy data analysts go for at least like around 45 to 55K, and then if you're going for a more like business focused, then I would guess the range would be somewhere between 25K to 40K. Again, it depends widely. It would depend on the company's budget. Actually, the company, how invested is the company
Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
data, and also the different kinds of other facilities that the company is
Yeah.
data ready for.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think you have given a good range, and yes, that's exactly what the Hong Kong market is all about. I have also talked with multiple HRs, so yeah, the range is most accurate. So it's a good range. My next question to you will be on a personal level. What are your next goals? To ease you, probably I'll talk about where do you see yourself after 5 years from today?
Mm. In 5 years, I think I'm still staying in the data space. The data space is a really fun place to be at, especially, and I would say at least to like 2030s or 2040s, because like different things are just evolving so quick, and if you're a fast learner, you'll like it. Let's I think I'll move into a more diverse role. Currently, to be honest, I'm a bit like half business, half technical. And then in the next 5 years, there are multiple topics that I would like to go deeper. For example, in the business side, I would like to really look in how agility could contribute to data projects, because agile delivery is more used in software and less in hardware, for example, and how data stands between of that is one of the executions that I'd love to see. And in technical side, let's say I would be open to transform to more data engineering and science roles, especially when they involve a bit more coding. And I would like to keep myself updated to some of the newest tech stacks. As you know, like the data space, new software has literally come out every week, especially if you see, and this is more severe in like the recent development of large language models. Probably in days, new models come out again and again and again.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. My next question is again, the answer of this question depends from individual to individual. In the space of analytics, I think there are two different versions like data analytics and business analytics. But I would like to see what your day-to-day activities look like. So the question is, what's your regular day-to-day activities that you do on a daily basis?
I would say for quite a few data analysts, their day-to-day activities are not really regular. I can't talk for other people, so I'll just use myself as an example. Right now I'm focusing more on business rather than like writing code for databases. So my day would consist of a lot of meetings. Aligning data requirements with the data engineers on my team, and also aligning with uh, some of the design people as well as software engineers on like how would the data be presented on in the front end. As usually as even though web apps are quite popular, a lot of companies would still prefer proper doing a really proper website, because it allows more flexibility in showing in the ways of presenting data. So if you got those stakeholders, you also have to communicate with them. You also have to communicate with them and make sure that the data doesn't get ill-formed during the transformation from the database to the front end. So yeah, that's, I guess, would be most of the activities for a
Yeah. Yeah.
business-oriented data analyst.
Yeah, okay, that's great. So my next question is one of the most important question that my viewers would definitely want to know from your side is if you had to start all over again,
Mhm.
how would you start to become a data analyst? What should be the roadmap?
Okay, well, maybe you're saying that what are the order of the skills that you have to
Skills.
like
Yes.
skills you have to acquire.
Yes.
Of course, in data space there are like a million different skills. However, as a person who is stepping into data analyst, I would list a few popular skills that you have to that it's basically essential to have if you want to be a data analyst that fits in most companies' data needs. The first one would be some data manipulation skills, and this would be meaning both Python and SQL would be needed to access database and doing some data manipulation.
Yeah.
In terms of data manipulation, it's also great to know a bit of Excel actually, because you'll find that in a lot of companies,
Yeah.
Excel is the main source of data. Usually, a lot of data are basically given in Excel files, not CSV, but Excel files. So this is also something that we might want, like we might want to like get a grasp of before starting. And then the second chunk would be dashboarding skills. Like, do you know like the different the what's the difference between a pie chart and bar chart? What do they represent? What kind of visuals do you want to put into a certain dashboard? Because a dashboard ultimately is present insights. Then you have to also then the I would say even the art of dashboarding is something that every data analyst should be on the way of obtaining it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people oversee this as well, but I would like to include a final one as the set of soft skills that includes in communication, maybe
Yes.
even sometimes a bit of negotiation with different parties on on deadlines and data requirements, and that is and having a certain set of soft skills could help you communicate better around the environment you're in. And communication is really an integral part of data analysts because again, from data to insight, it's the translation that counts.
Yes, yes. Okay. So if I summarize, what you're telling is data cleaning, data manipulation, of course, data scraping, all those skills are required.
Mhm.
On top of that, programming skills are required. SQL is required. In bits and pieces, you have also worked with Excel and dashboarding, right? So
Yep.
dashboarding includes all your Python related dashboarding and of course about the BI tools as well, right? Power
Yes.
BI or Tableau.
Yep.
Okay, that's great. So yeah, I think you have summarized it well, and that's great. And people who are watching probably will have a better understanding. I have also told about all these skills in my previous videos, so thanks for raising that. I won't have more questions. Probably last two more questions, two three more questions.
Okay.
So my next question will be, how do you stay up to date with developments and trends in the data analytics field?
That's a good question because I think first of all maybe a question zero to that question would be what parts of data space do you want to keep yourself updated on? Because people have
Yes.
different preferences. For but let's say for the more general population who are interested in the data space, there are always multiple channels. The most famous ones would be podcasts and Substacks.
Yeah.
Podcasts are basically yeah recordings that people talk about data product etc online. They're Spotify, some are live on YouTube. Everywhere you can find those. And if you're talking about Substack, there's actually an app called a Substack Reader, and you can subscribe. And basically as a Substack is a collection of blogs, so you can just like subscribe to different people who writes their own blogs and then get
Hmm.
updated in various data topics.
Okay.
I think there for data science in particular, I would say that Medium is also a good app.
Yeah.
There are quite a lot of people who write blog posts on Medium as well. Especially there is a stream called Towards Data Science. Where a lot of data scientists are grouped under that category and publishes articles under that name. So basically, I would say the two major forms would be podcasts and blogs. And those are the little articles and the little things that keep you moving rather than like 400 to 500 pages of books. Because usually those are for more theoretical or more technical heavy use cases. And to be very honest, as a data analyst, you don't if you're not going into like super technical heavy, you don't always have to dive into those books without any kind of without any kind of gain on your skills that you would be using in daily life.
Yeah. Okay, my last question is little bit tricky, but in simple terms, I will probably let me ask you. The question is, tell me three reasons why one should not become a data analyst. Now, I think you understood the question, but this is basically for people who wants to become a data analyst just for the sake of money. They want more salary. They don't want to code. So these kind of things. So maybe you can tell me three reasons why one shouldn't become a data analyst.
Okay. Three reasons. To be honest, the first one I would put is if you're for money, because like data analyst is one of the sexiest job of 21st century. That code has been like everywhere. But if you're trying to go for a lucrative job, I would say go for banks. Banks are simply more lucrative in any manner possible. If you're like a quantitative heavy and you want to become lucrative, just go be a trader would probably be a more viable option to you. And yes, so this is the first trait. The second trait is that I would say you don't like learning every week. Like if you don't like updating your own tech stack, or you don't like updating yourself to the newest industry news, then don't be a data analyst, because you have to always be aware of new things that is happening, or even talk to other people, like to keep updated yourself. Because if you don't, then the technologies you're embracing today, it might not be the same after like 2 to 3 years. And when you got yourself out of date, even though you might have that domain knowledge. For example, I know manipulation, but if every company is kind of trying to use a new package, then you're basically doomed. Yes. And then the third one. Okay, the third one. Let me see.
Programming.
I'd say I put programming as a third, but I think there is another that beats to doesn't want to program, which is if you don't want to communicate with people. It's not, as a data analyst, you're not a siloed coder. You cannot just like sit at your office table and code 8 hours and not talk to anyone. You have to actively communicate with people, because because it's from the business people you get your data requirements, and it's the business people you have to report to, and it's the other technical people that you can get contact into the company's current tech stack. So you always have to communicate. So if you don't like to communicate and prefer to be a siloed coder, I'm not sure a data analyst would be appropriate for you.
I think very well said. These are the top three reasons, and definitely programming comes fourth, and there are multiple other reasons why you should not become a data analyst if you are only thinking about these things. If you don't love data, I think you should not enter these industries. And so I think great points. And thanks, Derek, for joining this call. This is my first official podcast, kind of a podcast. And I think we are done. I have covered almost all the topics, all the questions I wanted to ask you. Thank you for joining in. Probably we'll catch up for some other sessions like this, or probably we can jump for some Sunday sessions, maybe some live sessions. You can come to my channel, speak on some topic. Probably I'll get back to you on this. But thank you for joining in, and it was really good to have you. And good to have you on screen, off screen. So yeah, I think we can wind up the call. Thank you.
Definitely, you too. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.